This next segment is sponsored by CougarSportsNetwork.com. Their motto is no paywalls, no pop-ups, no clickbait, and no affiliation, just 100% independent sports writing and coverage of the Washington State Cougars. Look, on a personal note, their founder, Andrew Bartline, is a friend of mine. They're great people. They do really good work. I am, of course, proud to champion them. They're a really good product, and I really respect what they do. So, again, go check them out, CougarSportsNetwork.com. They are a really, really reputable website. Okay, let's talk about former Washington State quarterback Gardner Minshew. I was watching, this film analysis was an emotional one for me. I was watching Gardner Minshew's film, and I just realized I felt like a fan. I really felt emotional watching it. I've met the guy before. I operated a camera for a Pac-12 network show, Pac-12 After Dark. I met him on the set. I was on the sidelines working for Washington State for the last 2 years, working for sports networks, filming Washington State games. I watched Gardner Minshew play live a lot. And in fact, if you know my personal journey, I transferred out of Washington State. I changed my whole plan in college. After 4 years off of college football, I went back to the game, and I'm playing college football again. I play at a small school in the state of Washington. I did that because I was inspired by Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew, really, really, the way he played, the way he carried himself, the joy he played with, the way he led his team, it spoke to me. I model my game as a quarterback heavily after the way Gardner Minshew plays. My favorite college quarterbacks of all time are Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, and Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is a special person and a special quarterback to me. And I have to acknowledge that. I'm biased here. And it was just a really emotional to watch. If Gardner Minshew ever saw this video, I would want to tell him, man, thank you so much for being yourself. Thank you for encouraging me and inspiring me as a player. I just really, really, Gardner Minshew's had a huge impact on my life, and I had to acknowledge that before I make this video. And I was really, again, it was heavy for me watching film because I really, really love and respect the guy. Now, here's what I love the most and what I respect the most about Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is not a highly skilled player. It's what I respect about him so much. In college, he maximized his opportunity because he's a guy who makes really good reads. He makes superb decisions. He's got a lot of good throws in his repertoire. There's a play against Utah where he absolutely manipulates the safeties, and it's something I find so cool. He gives a subtle shoulder fake. He moves the safety where he wants him and throws the ball and creates a throwing lane. He created a throwing lane by moving his shoulder. That is next level stuff, and it's really cool to watch. He's also incredible at extending plays. Young quarterbacks should study and watch what Gardner Minshew did at Washington State. He rarely ran the ball to get rushing yards, but he ran the ball and extended plays, keeping his eyes downfield, looking always to throw. I'm convinced of all the quarterbacks in college football last year, the two that were best at extending plays and keeping plays alive were Kyler Murray and actually Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew was fantastic, and I think, honestly, there are some things that Kyler Murray could have learned by watching Gardner Minshew about staying in the pocket and keeping plays alive and keeping your eyes downfield. Gardner Minshew is a special, special player when it comes to improvisation. I mean, it's fun to watch the way he carries himself and the way he plays. Here's what he needs to work on. He severely limits his ability to throw the ball downfield because of his mechanics. He really doesn't use his legs when he throws at all. NFL scouts will have two main complaints about him. One of them is silly. One of them I think is very valid. The number one complaint NFL evaluators will have about Gardner Minshew is they will say, well, he played in Mike Leach's air raid offense. And in some ways, that's a fair complaint, right? You can say that, a lot of times Gardner Minshew ran plays at Washington State that will not translate well to the NFL. The prime example of the offense not preparing him for the NFL, in Washington State, he had often running backs flaring out wide to the flats. The flat is the short outside area of the field. He threw the running backs a lot on plays like this, and he will not have options like that in the NFL. That's not an NFL read and not something he will have the luxury of at the next level. He also never played under center. But here's what's silly to me about he played in the air raid offense. Here's why I don't understand it. Patrick Mahomes was the NFL MVP last year in 2018. In college, guess what he did? He played in the air raid offense. So I think it's really doesn't matter. If you can play quarterback, you can play quarterback. And Gardner Minshew does a lot of stuff that I look and go, oh, that's a really high-level play from a really solid quarterback. Gardner Minshew is not getting the most out of his body. This is the number two concern that NFL evaluators will have. It's his arm strength. He doesn't drive the ball downfield as well as other quarterbacks. And he's really holding himself back. His throwing motion is all arm. He doesn't use his legs. His base is really wide in the pocket. and he's not able to use his legs to drive the ball downfield. There's a throw against Stanford that really illustrates this. Jameer Calvin beats everybody deep. He beats everybody over the top. But Gardner Minshew underthrows the ball. I've shaken hands with Gardner Minshew. I know this is not a strength problem. The reason why Gardner Minshew doesn't have an extremely strong arm is because of his mechanics. It's the way he throws the ball. Gardner Minshew is very similar to Baker Mayfield as an athlete, but the prime difference between Baker Mayfield and Gardner Minshew is Baker Mayfield uses his legs when he throws the football. If Gardner Minshew just slightly narrows his feet and uses his legs to drive the ball downfield, similar to the way actually baseball players use their hips when they hit a baseball, if Gardner Minshew starts using his legs, he could really surprise people when he makes a jump to the NFL. Now, the ability to play quarterback at a high level is there. When I watch Gardner Minshew on tape, I go, ooh, that's excited. He holds himself back physically a lot. But I mean, there's a throw against USC where he throws a post with pressure in his face. That is a fantastic play. That's a strike. That is a quarterback I want to play with on my team. Now, there's a play against Utah where you see some of his physical abilities limit him, even though he makes the right read and does the right thing. Gardner Minshew does a great job recognizing Utah blitzing. The linebacker blitzes, and Gardner Minshew throws the ball where the linebacker came from. If you're a quarterback, one of the number one things young quarterbacks need to know is if you have a guy blitzing you, replace him with the ball. Throw where that guy came from, because if the guy is leaving an area, it leaves an open zone. This is an incompletion because he just kind of flicks the ball over the middle. He doesn't finish the ball with his arm. He leaves his hand up, and he doesn't use his legs to drive the ball downfield. Small mechanical flaws are keeping a lot of people from paying close attention to Gardner Minshew, and it's sad. I think the concerns about playing in an air raid offense are just silly. I mean, so did Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, I've said it before, played in an air raid offense in college. That's not a valid concern. What is a valid concern is Gardner Minshew's mechanics, and that's what's sad. People are missing out on some really good quarterback play because they don't see the ball driven downfield well enough. They see a ball that goes up and down when he tries to drive it downfield. If I'm the New England Patriots, I would draft either Gardner Minshew or Will Grier. I think there's too much good about both players to ignore them and not draft them. And I really think, who knows? I mean, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they did not have great mechanics in college, but they improved in the NFL and developed a lot more arm strength. I really think if you give Gardner Minshew time behind Tom Brady or Drew Brees or Phillip Rivers, he could surprise people and do a lot of things right. Also, look, here's a quality people tend to overlook that I think really matters that Gardner Minshew has for sure. Gardner Minshew is great for the locker room. I've been around him. I've met him. If you bring him in, your culture improves instantly. He gets it. He'd really help the starter. If he's the backup quarterback, he's going to serve and be good for that locker room. He'll do a lot in the film room. I think Gardner Minshew is valuable to your team for more reasons than just can he play quarterback or not. He can bring a lot of value to a locker room because of his attitude and because of who he is. Now, it's all there. The ability he has to extend plays are fantastic. The decision-making is top-notch. He makes mistakes for sure. I'm not saying he doesn't. But most college quarterbacks can't do what he does, which is read from one side of the field all the way across to the other. Regularly, he throws to his fourth or his fifth option. That's high-level stuff. That's something that even top quarterback prospect Drew Lock had a hard time with. Drew Lock regularly struggled to get to his fourth and his fifth reads. And so when I see on tape is Gardner Minshew a quarterback who, in many ways, mentally is farther ahead of the other quarterbacks in the 2019 NFL draft, I really believe he has a chance to make it in the NFL. If he's given a good head coach and improves his mechanics, you could see something special from Gardner Minshew down the road in the NFL. Once again, I want to reiterate, this video was sponsored by Cougar Sports Network. They are a really fantastic website. I'm friends with their founder. They do a great job. I cannot uplift them enough. Genuinely, I believe in them. They're a great product. Go check them out, cougarsportsnetwork.com.